Yeah. What was the most difficult period of your life, and how did you get through it?
Okay, there's been various difficult points.
Yeah, I felt the same.
And I think we all have that trial and testing period. But I think the most crucial one, which I'll get straight to, is you need to have the context. So I went to Southampton Seoul at uni when I finished college, did a foundation degree in law, did well in the foundation degree, so it put me into the second year of a LLB law degree.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, so I went to Hertfordshire to finish that, which was an actual law degree, so it was a big jump from doing a foundation degree.
Yeah.
And I struggled that year, and at the end of the year I got a third, but I kept that to myself and no one knew. Over that summer, coming into my final year, my mum got married in Dublin, and then we came back, and it was nice and blah blah blah. Just before, in September 2012, before starting my final year, we get evicted from our council flat that we've lived in since 1997.
Wow.
And that was hard. I remember waking up in the morning, looking out, and bailiffs there with police, and I literally woke my brother up. He literally felt like he was dreaming, just went back to sleep. And they were like, yeah, sorry, we've got a warrant to possess the property. You got to be out within an hour. My mum's nowhere to be found. I called her. She's like, she just left the court that we've been evicted. I was like, obviously we've had threats, like coming from that deprived background. Yeah, we've had threats of bailiffs and evictions before. It comes in it, and nothing had ever transpired to that point where it actually happened. So, start my final year, homeless. I am literally the man of the house. Yeah, my mum's remarried, but at that time, like, I wasn't really rating the whole remarriage thing. And it was me and my brother, and me being the older brother, I need to be responsible, this, and finish this degree, can't be a waste of time. And I'd passed my driving test that summer. So I was faced with a choice: do I buy a car or do I rent on campus? So student loan kicked in. I was like, we were lodging with someone close by from where we used to live, and behind it was a garage, and there was a guy selling a Peugeot 307 there, and I was like, bought my first car with like student loan and insured it for the year. I just thought, let me just get it all out of the way, so I don't have to worry about it. And it was tough because I was homeless. Commuting to Hertfordshire, because where we were lodging, it was overcrowded. She had her own family as well, so I didn't want to stay there too tough. I didn't feel comfortable. My brother just gone.
So nice for it.
It was tough. It was literally tough because it was commuting back to and through, because I was working at Waitrose in Tottenham Court Road.
If you want me asking, did any of your friends know
that I was homeless?
Yeah.
Okay. So they did know. I mean, like, they weren't in a position to really help per se, because everyone had grew up in their own sort of family homes or had their own housing issues. Now, the reason why it was tough is because I'm doing a law degree, I'm homeless, I'm working part-time, and also my family's in a place where we're struggling financially, and it was really tough. And I remember I'd literally spent hours in I spoke to my tutor, and they were like, no one can. I was like, I'm gonna get first. I was so adamant I was gonna get first, and I spoke to my tutor, and they were like, sort of cynical about it. No one jumps 2 grade barriers, it doesn't happen. And I'd spend hours literally in the library with a few of my friends that were on my course, and only about 2 of them knew about my housing issue. So we'd be in the library in College Lane for hours, and then we'd leave at 4 or 5 in the morning. Everyone's gone in their cars. I've gone in my car, drive we're leaving, but I just would drive back into the car park, park up in the library car park, sleep in my car, wake up the next morning. I had a brethren that worked at Waitrose and also went uni with me, so she'll let me use the shower in her house in the morning, and then I'd go uni again, do the same thing, go work. It was tough. So
testimony
at the end, and I haven't actually shared this testimony at church, so I'm glad I have this platform, and I'm praying it will touch someone who might be going through something similar.
You'd be surprised, bro.
And I struggled, and it was hard, and it was only by God's grace. Sat the exam, I remember running out of time and only had like literally seconds to answer, like a few minutes left to answer the last question, which was the weighty mark. And I didn't even get to answer it, just barely put some bullet points, like they say you should do.
Yeah, if in doubt,
So
bullet points,
yeah. And when the grades came out, glory be to God, I was 4 marks away from a first. I got upper class 2-1. And
this is a remarket.
Yeah, at that point, I just didn't care. Like, it was just like,
that's a testimony in itself.
Like, it was like
that there, but you know why it's so mad? Because even last week, Sunday, there was a sister in my church. She comes and goes, but she gave an amazing testimony, and literally, she went to Northampton University, studied nursing, but in her last year, I think she got lupus or something. And it messed, obviously, if you know what lupus is, it kind of messes you up. So, and she just had setback after setback, but literally, at the end, she ended up getting a 2-1. So it's just like, the enemy or people will try and set you back or drag you down or throw things against you to just confuse you or throw you off track. But as long as you're focused and you know what you're trying to do, what you're trying to achieve, no matter what comes your way, you can obviously pull through.
Yeah,
you did, and that's amazing. Like,
you don't know glory to God, man.
No, 100% give God glory all the time. Like, you don't know who's gonna be in university right now when this comes out, watching this, thinking like, "Wow, God done it for you. Like, you can do it for me."
And he definitely can.
Of course, you know what I mean. So that's just that. I can't lie. That's uplifted me in a whole new way. Like that's probably amazing, man.
So that was the toughest period, but it was also very rewarding when I came out of it on the other side. What about yourself?
Of course. And one thing I want to say before I say mine, don't never stop sharing that.
Yeah,
that's powerful, man. That's powerful. I think for me, there's two, and it's very hard for me to split the two. I think so. For me, I actually got kicked out of university.
Oh wow!
So even that was, I'll go down that route, and I'll talk about the other one. I'll skim over the other one. But so I went to Nottingham-Trent University, studying biochemistry now. So first year we went well. I got a 2-1 in my first year. So I was like, yeah, cool, whatever. Second year came now, and then I remember we had one coursework. No, we were doing practicals with biochemistry. Got to do lab work, and then actually got to do theory stuff. So we've done the lab work now, but my results got messed up. So one of my boys who got decent results, I said, "Oh, let me use your results," thinking there's no issue. Done it now. I've got some mad emails saying, "Oh, you need to come have some meeting." Like, it's like the way they word it, like I've done some mad illegal things. I was confused. I'm in the meeting. I'm like, "Oh, you've colluded. Do you know what this means? You've brought disrepute to the course or blah blah blah." I'm like, "What? Just for getting results. Everything I wrote is myself. I just looked up my same bedroom's results. What's the issue?" Yeah. So not knowing now that this is giving me a strike against my name. So basically, like, they classify it as plagiarism. It's another word for plagiarism.
Yeah, plagiarism.
So I think if you get 2 strikes, you're kicked out. But again, where I've messed up, because of my freshman week, I just didn't really go out like that. I just didn't go to anything to find out all the necessary information. Cool. So I've done other courses throughout the year. Then coming towards the end now, I've got a big coursework. And now I've submitted. I've left it so last minute, it's my own fault. I've submitted it now, but they said the threshold is 20%. I've got like, I think 30-something% when it says whereby it. So 20% is like how much of it is being copied from someone else. That makes sense. I've got like 30-something%. I've got another meeting now. So with these things, I have no faith like that whatsoever. I'm not a spirit-filled believer or nothing. So it just is what it is. So I'm going there now, but I'm kind of, I'm going. I guess the word's prideful. So when they ask me a question, I'm kind of being a bit rude or whatever. So I'm not showing no signs of no humility or nothing. Yeah. So now, when the results have come now, got some mad letter saying you've literally been expelled from the university. Wow. And obviously, I didn't say nothing to none of my people in uni. It was just like, right. Like, for me, I was in at the time, it felt like a deep, dark place. And like, it was a thing where I was like, right, I felt like a waste, man. I felt like, just like, I don't know, all these things go through your mind, and it's like, I'm a failure, I'm this and that, and I'm like forget going to uni, I'm just gonna work, whatever. Already my living situation was a bit mad. I had overcrowding in my house, so I had really nowhere to stay. So I was like, what am I gonna do? So I was like, I'm just gonna work. So at the time, I was with who's my wife now, so she was my girlfriend. So I just told her mum the situation. So actually, I told my parents the situation first, but my mum was like, you know what? Right now, she's got an illness, so she said there's nothing she can physically do. Do you know what I mean? My dad, so these times obviously our relationship wasn't as good as it is now. He wasn't really saying, he wasn't really being helpful. That makes sense. It was like basically my back's against the wall, don't know what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
By the grace of God, literally, like my missus, her mum, my mother-in-law, she was like, you know what, don't go and work. That's silly. Like, that don't make no sense. She was like, literally, I've got a spare room. You can stay in the spare room. Go and find uni in London, and let's get your head down. And I was like, no, I don't feel right. Do you know what I mean? Like, about doing that whole stuff. Like, I just rather if it means just stacking work for a year. But again, that's my pride kicking in. I'm like, no, let me just stack for a year. Me work in retail, just get my money up and try and go. But if you've worked in retail, you already know. Unless you're doing some type of luxury type retail, your money's not adding up.
It's not,
You know, and obviously, those times, I'm not trying to do certain things to accumulate certain things. So I'm like, no, let me just do things the right way, blah, blah, blah. Eventually ended up staying at my missus' mum's. Like, she was like, I give God thanks for her life, literally, because I was able to now go to uni, go and get my biochemistry degree. And then literally, if it weren't for that, that's just helped, you know, my stepping stone to being in the pharmaceutical industry, you know. So it's just going through that setback, you know, and allowing it to set me up for a greater comeback, you know. So when I'm able to share this information with people, when they tell me, oh, I failed my A-levels or I failed my GCSE, I'm like, so don't like, that's all right. It's not the end of the world. Trust me, you can come back and do greater. I've known people that have failed X, Y, Z countless times, whatever. But it's not the failure. What did you learn from that? What are you gonna do different from that? What are you gonna use that to set you up to achieve more things, and then testify that to encourage someone else? So I think that was one of my
that's a powerful testimony, man.
And I think, you know.
So, has your definition of being a man changed? Especially more so because you're married.
Yeah, it has actually. I think it's changed at different stages of life. Muhammad Ali always said something profound, is that a man that views the world at 25 the same way he did at 35 has lost 10 years of his life. And I think that's key. I think that's, as a man, you should, as a person in general, you should always be seen to elevate or seek new things or find new things or learn new things, so to speak. So I feel for me, how I viewed what a man was, say at 10, is different to how I view a man at 18 versus how I view a man now at 28, you know, being married. I think for me, I feel as a man, you need to be a leader. I know we've mentioned it before, but also I feel I know they say mothers are nurturing, but I feel that a man should have an element of nurturing in them as well, if that makes sense. There's a key scripture that I love about, it's Corinthians 13 that talks about love. So learning, and I feel that applies to a man if you want a successful relationship. It talks about, you know, love being patient, you know, love being kind, being long-suffering, you know. And I feel if you have those traits as a man, you'll go far in anything you do, and as a relationship as well. I know they talk about the whole physical exterior appearance of a man, but also a man should have that softer element as well, you know, the understanding element. And I feel one thing that's key, one thing it says that, you know, it says, Apostle Paul said it, says, men, love your wives as Christ loved the church. And I think that's beautiful, you know. Yeah. So I thought those are my viewpoints on that situation.
Linking in on that and answering the question myself, yes. So it has changed across over the years. Obviously, as my perception widens and wisdom is given, I have more of an understanding of what being a man entails. Linking in with what Apostle Paul says about giving up, love your wife as Christ loved the church. It actually says that husbands should give up themselves as Christ gave up himself for the church. And that is where selflessness comes into it. Like where that is what love is in my eyes. It is being selfless to the max. Like. And yeah, I think my perception of a man is you do need to be selfless. I mean, obviously, this is me speaking in the relationship context, but generally love is something we should endeavor to try and show to all. But obviously the love you're going to show for your partner is going to be different. Like that means constantly putting that person's needs before yours, especially if you've made them your wife, or you want to make them your wife. If you're not already practicing that or striving towards that, then I don't know, you might face some rocky roads later on. So yeah, definitely being selfless, putting that person's needs before you. it is, again, linking back to the 3 Ps, being a provider, protector, and a preserver. And I think there is a lot when it comes to provision in terms of, as a man, that we do need to provide, that goes beyond just the immediate thought of just finance. I'm talking about emotional provision, spiritual provision, which we tend to fall short on and rely more on our women, and like even me more so, like especially when...
Do you know what? It's funny. Maybe in general, but I think one thing I always say, and I still say actually, if you're not praying for me, if you're not encouraging me or trying to make me the best person, what's your purpose?
What's your purpose? Yeah,
Do you know
exactly.
what I mean? And I feel when it comes to like my wife, I know she prays for me. She goes hand for me in a prayer closet. Likewise, you know, because at the end of the day, that's our firm foundation. You know, that's what we're gonna stand upon. You know, they say if you build your house on the sand, it's gonna eventually sink. If you build it on the rock, you know it's gonna withstand all types of turbulence or anything that will come your way.
Preach it,
you know.
boy.
So, got it, man.
Preach it.
No, but seriously, though, as men, you know, it's and if you're a believer as well, you got to pray for your household.
Definitely,
you have to. You got to pray for your mum and dad.
Yeah,
you got to pray for your siblings. You got to pray for your children. You got to pray for those that are in charge. Pray for your leaders.
Yeah, pray for your leaders,
because they're governing, you know, the law of the land, so to speak.
And
so
talking about praying for your parents, something I learned in church recently. The Bible says, honor your mother and your father. This is the first command that comes with a blessing. And your mother and your father isn't just your biological, especially when you're married. It's also your spouse, because once you're married, you assume their parents as your own. So we need to pray for our spouse's parents and also check up on them, see how they're doing, play that active role in their life, to let them know that you're also their child as well.
What's your relationship like with your parents?
Amazing. I've been fortunate. I've been really blessed. Like I can't complain. I'm not saying it's been smooth all the way. And there's been more problems from my mum more so than my spouse's mum, because like we have to remember, my mum's raised me and my brother. We're her precious gems in it, so she's like even more overprotective about us, especially about me and getting married, and you know the culture, how they get when it comes to the wedding. It's my show or this person's show. They want to all flex away in it. So definitely, like, your partner's parents are also your parents, and constantly looking out for their needs. I mean, I pray to get to a point where I can financially start like helping out my mother-in-law, like and doing things like that her children already do for her, but I also want to do as well.
It's your way of showing gratitude.
So my perception of a man, I think we share very similar perspectives there on what being a man is.
Does the inaccuracy of men in the media affect how you see yourself?
No.
Why?
Because the media paint men of my age, from my background, as thugs or criminals, uneducated, or disadvantaged, etc., etc. And I'm none of those things. Paints men that come from my background as people who resort to crime or aren't very well raised, and yes, there may be some correct stereotypes. Yes, single parent household, blah blah blah, grew up on social housing, etc. But just because I was in it doesn't make me of it.
Of course.
And I feel like there's this perception about there's a perception about black men, African men, that's being painted and being given, and it's not coming from African men.
So what is that?
That perception is like, for example, there's a perception that we are all womanizers, we all abuse
we all do
women,
fraud.
we all do fraud, we all rely on crime, or we are all affiliated in some sort of gang. And no, it doesn't always work like that. Yes, you grow up in certain areas and certain environments make you perceptible to certain things happening in your life, or forming certain affiliations with certain types of people that go down that route. Because unfortunately, there will always be people that will tick the boxes when it comes to the stereotypes. But
which is sad.
I just make sure that I'm not that person, and as many of my brothers as I can encourage to make sure that you know that it is a choice. Whether it is you had your mum or you had a dad, or you didn't have a mum, you didn't have a dad, or everything just came down on you at one point in your life and no one was there for you. There's still a choice. I know there are very rare circumstances where it's like a person's life feels like I've just been through hell. Nothing good has ever happened. There is actually always good, but I think people just fail to see it. They give more attention to the negative that's happening in their life. But we have a choice. You have a choice. Yes, we grew up in a certain area. We grew up in certain environments. Certain things are made available to us and certain things we're deprived of. But you have a choice to decide what route you want to take, whether you want to be that person that falls within that stereotype and that perception that the media is painting, or you want to challenge that stereotype and not be someone else just because you don't want to be that stereotype. Still be yourself. That's it. But being yourself don't conform, I suppose, is what I'm trying to say. Like the Bible says, don't conform, do not conform to the ways of this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind. And that is, the Bible's your bread and butter, because that is so applicable right now. Because
that's it. If the Bible is the greatest self-help book ever made,
can't agree more. Because if we didn't conform to the perception, or we didn't conform to the pressures of our area, ends, mandem, society, whatever, the lack of finances, if we didn't conform to what those things want us to do, and we rather transform the way we think, whether that's feeding our mind with education, feeding it with knowledge. And by the way, education is not just something that takes place in school.
The greatest education takes place outside of school.
Outside of school.
There's only so much they teach you in school. You know, in school, I wasn't taught about money management. I wasn't taught about etiquette in school. I wasn't taught about posture. The only thing I was taught was how to pass GCSEs.
Yeah,
that was it.
Yeah,
I got from school.
It's literally just a memorizing exercise. That's it.
Yeah, it's just who can remember the most.
Yeah,
that's how you pass GCSEs.
Just regurgitate what you've been taught.
That's it. In a nutshell.
The inaccuracy of men in the media doesn't affect me. I can see how it would affect some people.
Of course.
Especially knowing the powers that we face with social media nowadays. Definitely. And people's morale, and we all have different grace. So some people can handle things, some others can't. So it doesn't affect me. What about yourself?
Two things. Obviously, life is a series of decisions, a series of choices. What you choose will determine your outcome. I feel that your network, so those that you're around, will determine your net worth. So that's what I always say. And I don't mean net worth as in finances, yes, to an extent, but net worth in everything, in every experience that you do in life. If you're around, one thing my parents used to say to me, and used to proper bug me, but I see the value in it now, is that show me your friend to tell you who you are. Yeah. You know, if you're going to be surrounded amongst people that are go-getters or people that, you know, want to strive for better, literally it's going to rub off on you. You're going to be like, I'm around these guys that are achieving and doing X, Y, Z. I'm gonna go and do something with myself as well. So hence when I spoke to you about off the camera about my boy, obviously that does music, and my other friend who you mentioned, I'm around him quite a lot. He's even the godfather for my daughter. So just being around like-minded people, it stimulates you. So even when I meet up with my boy, so we normally meet up on every Thursday, but since baby's come, my Thursdays have been restricted. You know, we go out, we talk, we just share ideas, you know, just share tips and advice. It's just being around young, powerful black men. You know, I feel
very important.
We don't celebrate each other enough as black men. We see so much negativity in the media, and it's like, I can show you black men that I know that are successful. I can tell you black men that are young entrepreneurs, young millionaires, but they don't want to show that. They don't want to show that.
They don't show that.
They just want to show mug shots of boys who've got caught, you know, perhaps went down the wrong path, got caught doing Class A drugs or whatever. They want to show that. They want to show young successful black men in the city, or young successful barristers, or young successful guys that are head of media, and like maybe your KPMGs or your Deloitte. Or they don't want to show stuff like that. But they want to paint this picture to almost contain us and put us in a box. You know, but again, I'm not going to solely put the blame on the media. We also have a blame as ourselves. So that's why, again, from the start, like I said to you, what are you doing to help get young people into teaching young black men? It's the onus is on us to help bring other people through. If you've been able to knock down the door, let's open doors to bring other people, and let's spread the word. Let us be our voices to the masses in a nutshell. So I don't really buy into all that media bias. So obviously they got to sell papers, they got to make money at the end of the day. So it's on to us to correct that stereotype.
And hopefully when we can own our own media outlets, we can actually have a say about that narrative.
That's it.
But the highest suicide rate in the UK was for men aged 40 to 44. The highest suicide rate in the Republic of Ireland was for men aged 25 to 34.
Male rates remain consistently higher than female suicide rates across the UK and Republic of Ireland.
Cool. So the question, wow, this is a bit deep. Have you ever considered this as an option?
Do you know what? By the grace of God, I haven't actually, And long may that continue.
Amen. Amen.
I've watched a lot of documentaries in the last year or two where the whole thing's been a lot of focus around men and mental health.
Yeah.
And I know that the highest rates of suicide in the UK, I can't talk about the Republic, it's the UK. I'm pretty sure they said where men are prone most between the ages of 25 to 35. And I was very shocked and alarmed by that. And they said it's very prominent amongst the so-called working class demographic.
Yeah.
So that was really insightful. But no, touch wood, by the grace of God, I haven't never had that.
Amen.
And yourself?
Never, by the grace of God also, and it will never be an option to me. Like I just love life too much. Really.
I think one thing I would say, as an encouragement to maybe to anyone that's feeling suicidal, not that I've never had that, I haven't had those thoughts, but I would say every day the renewal of your mind is imperative, it's key. So it's almost what you choose to speak into your life.
Positive affirmations, yeah.
Exactly. So as believers, we say declare and decree. Non-believers, or whatever you want to call it, people that believe in this vibration energy stuff, you will say affirmations. And I feel those go a long way to helping to shape your character and to keeping you on the same path, so to speak. So even if things seem really dark or really clouded right now, there was a time where there was a lot of light in your life. I would say reflect and remember that time and use that time to literally remember that time and speak to that situation. Like, listen, yes, I may be going through this, but there is going to be light at the end of my tunnel. Yes, even though right now things may seem dark and gloomy, but there will be breakthrough. There are greater times to come. One thing I've learned, everyone can go through situation upon situation, but you've got through that situation because you're here today. So that would be the best piece of advice I give to anyone that's going through a traumatic time. There's always light and things always get better.
Yep.
Can you share a piece of advice you would give to other men?
I think, the three. From my perspective of what's helped me in life as a man, God first, definitely putting God first. Family second, and career or your passion, whatever you're pursuing, third. Also, remembering the role of a man. You are a provider, yes, you are a protector, but you're also a preserver, which means you have a responsibility. So I would encourage men as much as possible, of all creed, background, race, to acknowledge their responsibilities and strive to try and actually achieve their responsibility or fulfill their responsibility, shall I say, as much as possible. We're human, to err is human, we have our shortcomings, but in any way you can, as much as possible, try to avoid neglecting our responsibilities as men, because it really has a devastating impact. And that leads on to what I'm going to say next, my third advice, especially to men of colour. And we've got to look after our black queens, man. We really do. It starts, life form in itself for us starts there. So you're not taking care of home, and when we neglect that responsibility to our women first, like in terms of their needs and looking after them, it has a knock-on effect. You end up seeing women that, for example, women that are abused sexually, physically, emotionally, then become unable to either mother children, or become bad mothers, or become women that have made the wrong decision, or turn into the type of women that we don't want to be affiliated or married to. And it all comes down to somewhere down the line, a man had not handled his responsibility, and then that's the knock-on effect. So I feel like we need to look after our women, and fathers, if you've got daughters, like you need to model, even if you're not with the mum anymore, still treat that mum as if, in some senses, as if you were still with her, because you need to give your daughter hope, because that's why we've got a culture and a society of men are trash. My daughter can't be at 22, 23, 24 saying men are trash. She'll never be able to say that, because she'll see that, nah, my dad weren't trash, my brothers aren't trash. Yeah, they're boys and they have their shortcomings, and boys have a certain tendency to think or not apply much emotion, or sometimes thought into what they do, and it's not a justification, it's not an excuse. Again, we need to rise up to our responsibility on that part. But yeah, we have to look after our women. We have to look after our women, and we have to model that to them. A woman's not going to know what a gentleman is going to look like, or what type of man she should go for, if you don't show her what a gentleman looks like, or what type of man she should go for. So yeah, it would be those three things in a nutshell. What about yourself?
Powerful. How you start off in life doesn't determine your outcome in life. So what I mean by that is, yes, you may have gone through trials and tribulations upon tribulations, but you have the option to whether you want to have that life that you really want to have. Yes, some people are born with a silver spoon in their mouth. That's just how the cards been dealt. But through continue to progress and persevere, you can get to where you want to be in life. I genuinely feel that everyone has their own tests that they go through. But how can you have a testimony if you had no test? Almost, I'm not saying count your setbacks as a joy, but I see it as, you know what, this is almost something that I can come through if I want to come through it, and I can use that to uplift someone else. Because one thing I always say, there's always someone that's waiting for you to overcome or get through something so you can show them how to do it. Being a man, obviously relating back to what you said about being a young black man as well, it's very important that we have black male role models that other black men can look up to. It's very important about what we do as men. We need to look back and say, okay, I've done this, but how does that look to another young man that's coming through or looking to do something similar? You know, whether it be in your place of work, whether it be in anything, any walk that you do, make sure that you lead by example. Another thing I would say, talking about children, especially if you have a daughter, you know, I have a daughter now and she's 2 months, and I want to be her first superhero. I want to be her first Superman. I want her to look at me and say, Daddy's amazing. You know, Daddy keeps mommy happy. Daddy keeps me happy. Daddy, you know, doesn't make mommy cry or X, Y, Z. You know, I want my daughter to look at me and be the first role model she ever had. You know, say that my dad's the best. And by me doing that, she knows the standards that's been set for when a man wants to try, perhaps maybe go out with her, or court her, or look to marry, engage. She knows the blueprint that I've set in place. So if I tell my daughter not to settle for less, she'll know she can have it much more in abundance. Whereas, but she hasn't got a father that's around, she won't know about standards. So she may settle for any and everything, and that's not her fault. That's because she's had someone that hasn't shown her the right direction, and I want to be that man to show direction. So as men, we have to set direction. We also have to set pace. We have to be leaders as well. So those be my main take home message.
Amazing, man.
Can you tell me about the first time you fell in love? And how did you know you were in love? And how did you feel about it?
Okay, so the first time I fell in love.
Like, she might be watching, you know.